Now, the Lamar Jackson angle, let's go there because that's going to hover over the league the entire offseason. It's gotten weird over the course of the past week. Talked about it last night on the pregame show before the Ravens-Bengals game. Everything kind of came to a head. You were getting gurgling out of the organization. There was frustration that he wasn't playing. There was a sense it was contract-related. He posted that long tweet going into detail about his injury.
Right. I can't imagine the team loved that.
The team was surprised by it. Right. There's a sense of exasperation. All options are on the table for next year. I don't think on a long-term deal they're going to have as much on the table as they had on the table in August.
Wow.
Which will make it far less likely that he would take it. I think at some point he's got to have a vehicle to see what else is out there, whether it's the non-exclusive franchise tag or even the transition tag, which they could use, where there's no compensation to the Ravens, and Lamar Jackson gets to find out whether or not somebody else would give him a 5-year fully guaranteed contract. I think there's a belief in Baltimore that no one else would do it at this point, that the Browns were the only ones who were ever going to do it. The Browns have done it and given the blowback. Nobody else is touching it. Collusion or not, nobody else is going to do it. Right. But we're going to find out. So with all that said, and to kind of balance out some of the noise that's come out of the locker room, Sammy Watkins and some other reports and suggestions that there was a push for Lamar Jackson to play. Here's Marlon Humphrey, Ravens starting cornerback after the game last night, talking about Lamar Jackson's health.
With Lamar being out, obviously he's a great quarterback, but, a 50, 60% Lamar Jackson, I just don't think he really was healthy enough to really go out there. I think, he kind of made that clear with the tweet he said. I think a lot of people, there's a lot of speculation with him not having a contract, this, that, and the third, but, I don't even know if I should say this, but he's like limping around the facility. That's kind of the crazy thing that people don't see, obviously. So, obviously, we knew he wasn't going to be able to be out there with us, but hopefully we signed him to a big-term deal, and he's a Raven with me forever.
I don't know if I should say this. When I saw that he said that, it tells me he senses that kind of candor and honesty is cutting against the grain in some way. It's pushing against whatever he should be doing.
Right.
And, if he's telling the truth, he's telling the truth. Why should anybody be upset with him? And it's one thing to say we just don't want anybody ever talking about anyone's injury
I think
status.
that's a little bit of that.
I know, but it creates an even greater sense of something is wrong here, because I think the belief is within the organization, PCL injury that has had 5-6 weeks to heal. He can't make it any worse.
Right.
It's not like the ACL where it can go. It heals on its own.
Yeah.
It's typically from a hyperextension. You could put a brace on it. That was the comment Mike Vick had over the weekend.
Right.
Put a brace on it and go. I played with a sprained MCL for a full season. So it's just in a very weird posture right now. And I think that Lamar Jackson, his instincts probably are telling him somebody's pushing something here.
Yeah.
Somebody's pushing this narrative that I should have played. And if he'd had his long-term deal, I think he would have played, right? And I don't blame him for not playing without a long-term deal. The problem is he should have a long-term deal.
Yeah.
And it's partially on him that he doesn't have a long-term deal, because if he had an agent,
it's been hard to work out the details.
Deal. And this is the point I want to make right now.
Yeah.
If Lamar Jackson had an agent right now, see, folks like Richard Sherman think that all the agent does is show up, exchange some numbers, and take 3% of $100 million. Easy job, right? All I got to do is send a few emails and yada, yada, yada. I get 3% of this gigantic windfall, and I just sit back and the checks come in.
Right.
Here's what a good agent. I know there are bad agents, but there are plenty of good ones. And it's not hard to put together a list of the good, reputable, successful, and effective quarterback specialist agents. There's 5-6 of them that come to mind immediately. I'm not going to start naming names because then the other ones will be pissed at me. So, as usual. So, if he hadn't had an agent this past week, once all this stuff starts bubbling up, the agent goes into hyperdrive.
Yeah.
The agent starts calling media. The agent starts calling John Harbaugh. The agent calls Eric DeCosta. If he has to, the agent calls Steve Bisciotti. Right. Tell your guys, whoever it is that's talking, shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Or you're going to blow this. You're going to blow this. Hey, Steve, you know what's going to happen here? You're going to blow this. And then when Mike Vick goes on TV and says put a brace on it, you know what he does? The good agent gets in touch with Fox. Get me Mike Vick on the phone. I want to talk to Mike Vick about the situation here, about putting a brace on it. He needs to know the story and is relentless. I mean, there are agents out there who, when stuff like this is going on in the media, they are relentless, and they are not making an extra penny for it. They are protecting their guy. That's what a good agent would be doing for Lamar Jackson now. And I say that, and I understand. Roquan Smith, great job. Negotiated a great contract on his own. But if he ever gets in a situation like this, he's on his own. There's nobody who's going to help him. There's nobody who's going to reach out to media who may already have people on to pick up the phone. Here we go. Let's call this guy. Let's call this guy. Let's call this guy. I got this phone. I got this. I know this person. I know this person. And I can put this fire out. Somebody needed to put this fire out on behalf of Lamar Jackson last week. And it would have been good for the Ravens too, because it may be at the point now, Chris, where you can't fix it. It may be unfixable after everything that's gone on.
There's a lot to unpack here with this subject. There really is. And it's hard to speak of it. I mean, again, we haven't seen Lamar and what his status is, but I know I told you a few weeks ago, right? And I'd been told right around that week 15 part that there was week 15 or maybe going into week 16, right? I had heard that his knee was still incredibly swollen, and that they didn't know when this was going to turn for the better, and he was going to be able to get on the practice field. So there's been the doubt there, But obviously, it seems like there were some guys in the locker room there that felt like, hey, like you were trying to make the point, you could put a knee brace on and play and not be 100% and still play.
Just try,
right? And I think there's, I think that's where Michael Vick, I think there's some thoughts out there, and that's maybe filtered out of the Baltimore facility for sure. But yes, it's gotten weird, and I don't think this whole thing is. I know there's some people that go, well, this is going to help Lamar's leverage. Look, their offense wasn't very good down the stretch, and they didn't. Yes, I get that, but I don't think this does ultimately help his leverage, really, the way it looks. And
you can keep Tyler Huntley for a lot less.
Well, exactly. Well, there's just other options out there, and of course, there's concern with Lamar Jackson because he is so reliant on the legs, and here we are 2 years in a row where he can't play the month of December, and we all have noticed at least a little bit of a drop in his overall explosion and speed, right? He's no longer like the most explosive quarterback in football. That Justin Fields gets that title there. And, yeah, the contract situation, it sounds like Baltimore's exhausted as far as trying to figure this out, plan for the future of their football team, to where it seems like it's weird. And the more we go here down this road, I'm starting to think that maybe he's not going to be with the Baltimore Ravens next year. It doesn't seem like it.
And here's the bottom line. And again, this is why it's important to have a good agent. You want the Deshaun Watson contract. You don't get the Deshaun Watson contract unless you say to the Ravens, I'm never playing for you again. And you hope that means they make you available via trade. Now, if they use the non-exclusive franchise tag, you're necessarily available for trade, sort of, because you're allowed to talk to other teams. You get an idea of what they would pay, and there may be a team that says, we'll engage the Ravens and try to work something out. And if all else fails, we're willing to give up 2 first-round picks. I don't know that there's a team out there that's willing to give him huge money and give up 2 first-round picks at this point.
Right.
But, the Browns gave Deshaun Watson 5 years fully guaranteed and gave up multiple first-round picks to get him.
Yeah.
So all it takes is one team.
That's right.
But it also takes an agent to shepherd the client through this minefield, because I look at it this way. If Lamar Jackson has the ability to go out there and negotiate a deal with some other team, you still have to negotiate with these other teams. You have to orchestrate. You have to bring them to the table. You have to know when the right time is to say no. They slammed the door in the Browns' face at the perfect time, Deshaun Watson's people did, because that caused the Browns to loop back around and offer 5 years fully guaranteed. Right. And so good agents earn their money, not just when it's time to negotiate the contract, when it's time to build the leverage, expand the options, deal with the media, put out the fires. There's so much more that they do. And this isn't a pro-agent take. It's trying to get people to understand the truth, because the folks out there who are anti-agent just think, oh, this is an easy way to save 3%. It's like not paying your taxes. Like, I don't want to pay this 3%. I don't want to have to write this check every year to my agent, because what's my agent do? This is an example of what a good agent can do behind the scenes to help protect the client. And Lamar Jackson desperately has needed someone to protect his interests this week. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.